Hi everyone, my name is Ryan.
And my name's Kirby, and this is Wesley. Together,
We
we're
are
the
the
Brody
Brody
fam. So today, we thought it'd be fun to do a little story time and tell you guys how we met. And it all started on the website Christian Mingle.
I was the first to message you. I sent you a winky face.
Yeah, I remember looking at my messages and saying, oh my gosh, look at this super cute guy. He sent me a winky face. I was telling my friend Melinda, who actually is the one who encouraged or almost made me make a profile on Christian Mingle. Thanks, Melinda. It worked out. Yeah, I remember seeing that and I was so excited and I was like eagerly awaiting for him to like message me and like say something. So we talked for about 2 weeks. I mean, every day for everything from like good morning to what our hobbies and interests were, talking about our families and our goals and dreams in life. And we, in that 2 weeks, kind of made a little bucket list to do together, which kind of started out with just like, hey, this would be fun to do together. And it kind of became this super long list of crazy things, anything from like skydiving together to like going to an apple orchard together. And so when Ryan said, hey, we should meet up, we kind of looked towards our bucket list of like, okay, what can we do together?
So I picked her up in Freeport, Illinois.
Which is where I was living at the time.
And we drove to Chicago with the intention of going to the Sky Deck. But first, we wanted to go to Navy Pier. And we talked and talked and talked and really got to know each other.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, by the time we were done, it was too late to go to the Sky Deck.
Yeah, it was closed. It was pitch dark out. And it was really cold, too. And I remember
Freezing.
Specifically, I had a cold. And I had been trying to hide it the whole time because I didn't want to cancel our, like, first meeting. Because I really wanted to meet him. But I was, like, so sick. And so I remember, like, having to, like, kind of turn and, like, blow my nose or do something. Because I, like...
Maybe I'm not observant, but... Yeah. I don't know. You really pulled it off.
He said he didn't know at all, which is great because I felt horrible like the whole time, but I was having a good time like telling stories and listening and getting to know each other. It was really fun. One little funny tidbit. So all of my family and friends were so worried about me, and honestly, disclaimer, do not recommend going somewhere with a stranger like we did. So we got an app where people could track where I was at and see where I was going.
What, you got the app?
Well, they did too. And so all of my family and friends, I mean, they were all watching where I was at. It was really funny. And I remember I had my phone, I think, on like silent or something, vibrate or something. And I could, like, it just kept going off. And I was like, what on earth? But I was like, I'm not going to look at my phone. Like, I don't want to be rude. And finally, I'm getting a phone call. I'm like, what the heck? I got to answer. It's my mom. I'm like, hello? And she's like, Kirby, are you okay? Tell me you're okay. And I'm like, I'm okay, Mom. And I'm like trying to like kind of be quiet and like take a few steps aside so he's like not noticing what's going on. She's like, I was watching the app and all of a sudden your phone jumped into the river and it looks like you're there. Are you okay? Like, and I'm like, yes, I'm okay. So apparently the app had like messed up and looked like I was in the water. So she thought like either I was thrown in the water or my phone was, which is cute. But so I was like, no, I'm fine. I was like, I gotta go. And yeah, that was really funny. Yeah, so we drove back. I think by the time we got back to Freeport, it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, wasn't it? It was really late.
Did I head home from there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which was another 2-hour drive.
2.5, isn't it?
2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah. Woo. The whole time, I was waiting to see if he was, like, gonna say something about a second date or meeting up again, and he didn't say anything, and I was getting kind of, like, self-conscious about it, and then I'm like, do I bring it up? I'm like, no, like, I want him to, you know what I mean?
Little did you know I was nervous to bring it up.
That's so funny. So, once we got back to Freeport, I was getting out of his car. Like, we were like, okay, yeah, that was fun, yada, yada. I was getting out of his car, like one foot was, like, on the ground. And he's like, like something real short about like, yeah, we should do this again, or we should meet up again next week, or something like that.
Because
Real
I was
short.
like, okay, it's do or die.
Yeah.
Ask. I'm not sure if he wanted to meet up. So it was like do or die. Ask now or forget it.
And I remember being like so relieved. And I think because I was already like halfway out of the car, I kind of like looked away and smiled because I was like all excited that he asked. So yeah, we like, that whole next week we talked still. I mean, it was so much fun. And um, I know I called like all my family and friends the next morning and I was telling them like how like lighthearted and easy everything was. Like I didn't get real nervous like I normally would on dates. Like it was just so much fun.
We had a moment of silence in the car. Wasn't awkward at all.
Yeah,
Just
that was so.
was normal. We
Yeah.
were just we had talked a lot, but we just hit a period on the way home where we were silent and I was driving, but
Mm-hmm.
it didn't feel awkward. It just felt
Mm-hmm.
normal.
Yeah, it felt like we knew each other for a long time. Yeah, so I kind of that's when it kind of clicked for me. Like, oh, this is a little different. Like, I haven't had anything like this before. The next weekend, we agreed that I would come to Iowa and meet his family, and we would kind of do some fun things around where he lives since he had come to Freeport the last time. So I remember doing the like 2 hour drive and being nervous the whole way there. And I remember like Google Maps saying like arrived as I like pulled in front of the house, and I remember being so nervous. And he told me to pull around back where the drive was, so I pulled him back. And my first thought was there was so many cars. So, you know, it was his parents' car, his mom's car, his dad's car, his
Sean's
brothers.
4 cars.
Yeah.
My brother.
Sean had a lot of cars, Trey, his car, and I think Emily was there.
So
his brother's
Emily,
girlfriend.
yep. My brother's girlfriend's Emily was there. Allison was there too.
Yeah. So my first thought was, did they like sell cars or something? Because I was like, there's a lot of cars here.
There was like
it was a lot.
10, 11 cars.
It was a lot. I didn't know where to park. But as we were getting out, I was so nervous that I like started acting like I was fiddling with something in my car when there was nothing to fiddle with. Because I like didn't want to get out. I was so scared. I was like doing something. And then you came out of the house and like around back, and then I was like, okay, so I like came out, and it was a little awkward at first, but then it was fine. Kind of like, okay, we don't know each other well enough to like hug or anything. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was so funny. And then for me, so they have this like back porch, like shoe room, what do you call that, like sun porch type thing.
Yeah.
So walked in there, took my shoes off, and walked right into the kitchen, and literally everyone was right there sitting looking at me, and I remember being like I was so like not expecting that.
I was so nervous, and I wanted the house to be spotless. I wanted to impress you, and I made sure everybody cleaned. I wanted that house in tip-top shape. And, to my surprise, my brothers cleaned. But I think they made sure to tell you that we're only doing this for you. And
they're like, you owe us.
Yeah, I think they said that. I introduced her to my family.
And right as he was like introduced me to them, his grandma came in, Grandma Colton, and I remember, she reminds me so much of my grandma, who I call Mecca. She came in and she goes, I'm nosy. I just wanted to see who you were. And I was like, okay, hi. It was so funny. But yeah, Ryan showed me a lot of his camera equipment, which was really cool. I was surprised at the amount he had.
We went outside, and I was trying to show off by the things I know. I changed the oil in her car. Because, I'm a man.
Which, guys, if you know how to change the oil in a car, do it for your lady. Definitely earn brownie points with me.
See, we went and I showed her some stores out of town. We went to some parks, and we went and visited my grandparents. She got to meet pretty much my whole family.
Yep. I think
that
I
day.
didn't meet
not my
like
whole
your
family,
aunt
but
and them, but like I
really
met.
the immediate family. And then we went to a place I call the Dark Spot, and this is an area that I've noticed. It's way out in the country. It's super dark. You can see all the stars.
It's beautiful.
And I took her out there. She had never seen a shooting star.
Mm-mm.
But she always liked looking up at the nighttime sky.
Sorry if we look a little bit different. Sometimes life with a newborn doesn't go quite as planned. So we might have a little bit more spit up on our shirts and look a tad different. But back to it. So while we were out looking at the stars, we played a game. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's where you look at one star and you spin in a circle, and then you look down at a bright light, and it'll cause you to like be unsteady, and like sometimes some people will fall. It's kind of fun to play, but I was telling Ryan about it and he didn't believe me, and so I was like, okay, you should try it. And so he did, and he totally fell over, and we were cracking up about it. Keep that in mind for a proposal. That's something to keep in the back of your minds. The whole night I kept remembering that he had told me he had a question he wanted to ask me, and I kept thinking like, okay, the night's almost over, like, is he gonna ask me? And I was getting kind of nervous about it, like, is this gonna be like I don't know, like I really didn't know what kind of question. I was like, there's no way he's gonna ask me to be his girlfriend, like this is our second date, like no way. And I remember, so it was some awkward silence there for a little bit. So I asked him, what was that question you were going to ask me?
And I'm like, I'll ask you later. And you're like, okay.
I was like, oh, dang. But I was like,
and I'm getting really nervous. And I'm like, crap, now's the moment. I knew I was going to do it tonight. I was waiting, kind of dragging my feet and procrastinating, and I just, my nerves got to the best of me. So an awkward minute of silence went by.
Yeah,
still looking really up at the stars.
After that, I was like, oh, okay.
And I'm like, that question I was gonna ask you? She's like, yeah. I'm like, well, it's later.
And I was like, okay. So I'm like even more anxious about it now, because I'm like, oh, what is this question?
And I'm like, no, never mind. I'll tell you later.
I seriously thought he was messing with me.
And you're like, oh, okay.
Strike one.
And about another minute went by, and I'm like, that question I'm going to ask you, well, it's later.
Again.
And you were just dying to hear it. And I'm like, no, crap, I'm not ready. Again, I'm not ready. So I'm like, never mind. And then I'm like, I'll tell you later.
Strike two.
And I'm thinking, I'm really screwing this up. This is not going as planned, and I'm too nervous. I'm gonna abort. And I'm like, that question I was gonna ask you for the third time. I was like, well, it's later. And I said, do you want to be my girlfriend?
And I remember hearing him ask that, and I was like so surprised, and I got like really excited and giddy, but I also was like, wait, what do I do? Like, I have to answer. And I knew like I wanted to take this seriously. Like, in the time that we talked about like wanting to be intentional with dating, and not just doing it for fun, but looking for that partner to spend the rest of your life with. And so I kind of felt the weight of that. And so I didn't want to just like, oh, sure. And I remember like stopping and like looking at the stars and praying. And I said, you know what, God? Like, if this is right, show me a shooting star. Like.
And it felt like it took her forever to answer.
Poor guy.
I was thinking, man, I asked it too soon. It's only the second date. We haven't been talking that long. We had been talking. This was almost a month after I first messaged you. right? Right around there. And only the second date, I thought I blew it.
And I had never seen the shooting star or anything, so I had prayed that, and I kind of thought it was like a, some pretty out there. And I'm like waiting, and I'm not seeing a shooting star, and I'm like, what the heck? But like deep down in my gut, I felt like this is right. Like this is something special and something different. And so I was like, okay. I'm like, I feel like this is right. So I said yes. And so we had like our first like awkward hug. And
we're like,
no, we did not do that. It wasn't that bad.
It was a good hug.
It was a good hug.
It was a good hug.
And so I think we hugged and then like went to drive back. And as we were driving back, I saw this like white flash like through the sky. And I'm like thinking in my head, like, what the heck was that? And Ryan's like, did you see that?
It's a shooting star. Did you see that?
I was like, that's a shooting star? And he's like, yeah. I was like, and I think I got so quiet because in my heart I'm like, oh my gosh.
And I've seen a lot of them. That one was pretty vivid.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh. I prayed that God would show me a shooting star, and I just saw one. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And so that was really cool. Kind of.
And I didn't know it, but I think it was later that night you told me.
No, I didn't tell you until we were engaged about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I like cut that in. I didn't tell him.
Wow.
So the next weekend was Thanksgiving weekend, and my family was like, why don't you invite him here? Like, see if he wants to come. Like, maybe he can come, like, after he has Thanksgiving dinner with his family, and then can, like, stay and go Black Friday shopping, things like that. And, because that's kind of, like, a fun little tradition with my family. Like, we'll all kind of go out and go to the shops or whatever. And so I asked him, and he said yes. So I remember I think they had Thanksgiving lunch with your family. And then he drove out to where my parents live, and he met
at
like,
my... Which was, 2.5 hours away?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He met at my grandma's house, so Mecca, and I was, like, trying to tell him, like, okay, there's going to be, like, all of my family here. And
I'm like, I got it. I'm not worried.
yeah, he was super confident. I was a little nervous. I was like, oh, here we go.
I think I got a little nervous once I got there.
Did you?
So I pull into her grandma's driveway, and no sooner than when I opened the door, she was already out there. She ran out from the front door, gave me a big old hug, warmed my heart. And
I may or may not have been watching out the window like for half an hour prior.
That was a paramount moment. That's when I felt like this relationship had already strengthened. Since committing to a relationship.
Being official, you know?
Well,
it was on the Facebook.
And then a whole nother week went by. We had been talking every day, all throughout the day. I think at that point we were talking on the phone.
A lot, yeah.
Yep. So we were talking on the phone quite a bit, and things really improved. Our relationship grew, just in a week's time. That was very evident with that hug.
The first thing Ryan saw when he came into the house was my uncle with his shirt off, and he was cleaning, and his pants were sagging. So his butt crack was hanging out. I was so embarrassed. Oh my goodness. I whispered to Grandma, I was like, can you tell him to pull his pants up, please? I was like trying to rush Ryan like around. I'm like, come on. Because he was just vacuuming.
Which is funny, you didn't notice that before I got there.
Oh, yeah. He was just in the other room, so we didn't even notice until you were there, and then I was like, oh no. So then he came in the other room, and my mom, my dad was there, Mecca, my grandma, and her, at the time, boyfriend, Izzy, and then it was also Dan and Rose, which are like my other parents, my best friend's parents. And so he got everyone right there. And we sat down and we talked and told stories, and I don't think you got grilled too bad.
No.
I think Dan asked
Just
you a couple,
questions.
like...
Just questions.
Yeah.
Yep, I just got asked some questions, and Dan told me a bunch of dramatic stories.
Woo, Dan!
But that night went pretty well.
They were good stories, though.
Got to meet her whole family. So we left. Thanksgiving dinner was over. And
we went from my grandma's to my parents' house. And they had him stay in the guest room, and then I stayed in the other room.
Yeah.
And,
So Black Friday was, we were going to wake up early. We were going to get little sleep and wake up early to go Black Friday shopping. I think I wanted you to wake me up because I knew I was going to have a hard time. Was that right?
Yeah, that was the first time I ever learned that Ryan does not wake up easily. I remember being all the way across the house, hearing his alarm go off over and over and over. And I'm like, is he getting up?
I set 5 alarms.
When we first got married,
I keep the phone right
10.
next to my head,
10.
levels all the way up. I can't hear anything.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think he did it on purpose because he wanted me to wake him up. And
No, I really did not hear it.
You didn't?
No.
Oh. I remember feeling so awkward going in there, like, you're kind of new to this. I'd be like, Ryan, wake up. Ryan, wake up. And he wasn't waking up. I was like, what the heck? So I called my German Shepherd over, named Tobias, and he jumped right on top of him and he woke up. It was fun. All that day we went shopping and got to know each other, and my mom really got to know Ryan, and that was really fun. Yeah, we were out and about.
Yeah, I got to see a bunch of baby photos.
Oh my gosh. I mean,
her family really opened up to me and really invited me in. It felt like an extension of my family.
I was a little surprised. I mean, my mom right away was like, oh, look, and came out with a whole bin of, like, pictures. And she's like, this is Kirby with crazy hair. This is her screaming in a tantrum. This is her covered in SpaghettiOs.
Hope you can't see this one. Next.
Yeah. I was like, Mom. I was so embarrassed. But I'm glad. That was really fun. Yeah, from there, our story progressed pretty quickly. I mean, our family knows that we tend to make decisions pretty quick, good or bad. But this has been, I think, the best decision of our entire lives.
So I get home Sunday night, I look myself in the mirror, and I had an epiphany.
If you want to see more, you're going to have to watch our part 2 to our story time of how we met on Christian Mingle and got married in 5 months.
Start with the bucket list stuff.
Hit one more button on the camera. And that's when you said, hey, we should meet up. Okay.
Yep.
Your turn to talk.